Mino Line Media presents the Business First Podcast.
Hi, all, and welcome to a new episode of Business First with Sonia Alleyne. I am your host, and today in studio we have two very special people. Freedom Farlow Cook, who is a playwright and director at Freedom Rites Productions, and her husband, Tom Cook, who is a lifestyle aficionado, but also one of the producers for Freedom Rites Productions. Their latest production is a comedic drama entitled Take No Tea for a Fever, which opens May 8th to the 11th at the highly acclaimed Arden Theater in Philadelphia. Welcome, the Cooks.
Thank you.
How are you?
Thank you.
Very well.
Good.
Very well. Good to see you.
Good. So for the audience's benefit, I've known Tom for a very long time. And I want to say to you, Freedom, before we even get started, I love the way Tom rides for you. Like even before, this is the first time I've met you, but he speaks so highly of you. He's so impressed with your talent. He's so proud of what you do. He talks about it. Anytime we've talked, you're the first person he talks about. And even from his posts and what I see you guys do on social media, you are a great team. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about that. You know, I have a good friend who had to separate from a partner because they were not engaged in what was his dream, right? And so how does that feel for you, Freedom? But I also want to have you guys talk about what that looks like to be husband and wife, but also to be supportive partners in Freedom's dream.
I'll defer to my spouse first, and then I'll finish out.
Well, I think in anything that you do, you definitely want to have each other's support, because if you don't have each other's support, it's going to cause a strain in a relationship, in a marriage, and whatever that relationship is. So it's important that you both can kind of be on one accord as much as possible, because it makes the process so much easier if both of you are walking down the same street. If both of you start to go down separate streets, it's not going to work. And other issues will take place in terms of personality, behaviors. Somebody will feel slighted, or someone will start to feel angry because they're not being supported. So having a support system is very important, because you don't want it to come just from outside the home, but it's very important that you have it from inside the home as well.
I'm going to, of course, agree. I got the theater bug. I'm just being candid. I'm in love with a playwright and who happened to have extreme talent. And I thought in my mind as an epiphany that I said, you know what, we could be like the Jacksons, and maybe somebody will discover us, somebody like Diana Ross. So she's looking at me like, what does that mean? I said, honey, that means I'm willing to put money behind your dream and support it 110%. And we have just been fortunate. That's all I can say. God's been good.
Yeah, and it's obvious because you are currently in a residency at the Arden Theater, which is a very well acclaimed theater in Philadelphia. But Freedom, you've been writing for a long time.
Yes, I have been writing for over, it's been over 10 years. So it's been a long process. Have written several plays. This is the 5th one that we've actually produced, and it's going up on stage. So yeah, I've been writing a long time.
Yeah. What was it that happened 10 years ago that made you say, you know what, I think I'm going to do this? Because professionally, you are a social worker.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so in the midst of that work, which can be very intense as well and very demanding, what was it that called you to this writing?
So here's the story. So I was at my job, and I was talking with some friends, and we were talking about relationships. And at the time, the 2 young ladies that I was talking to, I think one was married, one was not. And we were just talking about this men in general. I was mostly just kind of listening. But I came up with this idea, and I said, wouldn't it be funny if you could have a man shop? Like you go to McDonald's and you can just order your perfect man. I said, but the opposite would be happening. I said people would go to order a man, but you would have a longer line for women returning their men, because there is no such thing as a perfect relationship or a perfect person. And we all just kind of laughed about it. But then I came home and actually started writing it. And that's sort of is my epiphany in terms of when I actually started writing. And we did the play. It was called Man Shop. It was a big hit. The women loved it. And from there, I just kept on writing. So I've done plays that really speak to the community, and it really speaks to what I want people to understand sometimes in terms of what's going on in society. So I've done a play on racism. I've done a play on mental illness. That one was on relationship. And this one is basically about a woman who's, is ready to do whatever she needs to do to protect her family.
So what was it that made you feel confident enough to write it? Yes, you had the idea and you were inspired, but had you written before? Had you always wanted to do something like this? What was it that really made you feel confident to produce this show?
I don't know if I had confidence. I think I just tried it. I think when you have something that's in you, it won't let go until you actually do it. And sometimes you may not have the tools, but you will get the tools that you need. So it wasn't about me having the confidence. It was just something I thought was a really good idea. And what I did was I did some research. I researched on how do you write plays. You know what I mean? So I started training and teaching myself. So once I started doing those things, because I knew I just had to get it out. I had to get that on paper. And once I started training myself, you can find anything on YouTube nowadays. And then I started writing it. And then I had help from other people. I would have people read it, tell me how does it sound. Because there's a lot that goes into writing a play. So over the years, I've continued to learn, because it's not something that you ever stop learning. So over the years, I've taken classes, I've learned and gathered all the tools that I need to be more proficient at what I do. But in the beginning, it was just an idea. And I just figured if I'm going to make this idea work, I got to get out there and figure out how to make it work. And that's basically what I did.
Yeah. So your first, did you want to say something, Tom? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, she was a little remiss. I was the alchemist that kind of helped to get it going. So I say that to say that it is great to be able to have someone that actually believes in you. And then you can touch and agree and do things that others might not imagine could ever be probable. How about that? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's what's wonderful about the two of you working together, because, and like you said, Freedom, you weren't confident in the beginning. And sometimes those voices in our heads can be stronger, right? And lead to nothing at all. And so to have someone who's able to say, I believe in you, or yes, we can get this done, is, I can't even imagine how invaluable that is to this process. And then to have this turn out to be a hit. How did that feel after you got all of these rave reviews and people enjoyed it, and you got to see this vision that started from a conversation to see this actually played out on stage? What was that like?
That was phenomenal. So that encouraged me to keep going. And I knew, I guess from my social work background, I knew too that I wanted to tell a story. I also did another play, was called Sweet Cattle, that was about human trafficking. So I always feel like whenever I'm writing a play that I want the audience to walk away with some type of information, knowledge, or just something to make them think about whatever they may be going through, or just to give them information. When we did Sweet Cattle, there was so many people that didn't know about human trafficking. But just from the play, they had learned, oh, this does exist. Sure. Yes, and it exists here in Philadelphia. So I always try to make sure that my audience have some type of resources, information, knowledge, or just make them think about society, or make them think about what's going on in their life. Do they need to make any changes, or do they need to use it to help someone else?
Right. I'm going to ask you about confidence again, because I know, and maybe because I'm doing this because I'm a creative as well. And I know sometimes even when something that you put out into the world is well received, sometimes it's difficult to think that you can duplicate that. And I watched a documentary not too long ago, and Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald, who'd collaborated on a song together, and it was a hit. It took them a really long time to be able to write together again, because they just didn't think they'd be able to replicate that. How do you feel about putting your ideas out there over and over and over again, hoping that it'll have the same response?
Honestly, how do I feel? Nervous, fearful, all of those things. But I do it with God's grace. One of the things I try to remember is, if God has it for me and he's given me that vision or given me that idea, then I'm just going to do it. I'm going to let everything else fall into place. But I do it because of his grace. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, each time we do these plays, I pray, Lord, let the house be full. But I may walk in there one day and it won't be full, but that'll be okay. Because my thing is that as long as I'm doing something that I enjoy doing, I have a passion for doing, the people that are in the room, those are the people that will experience it. So I just go with that. I just go with the fact that this is God's grace, and I just try to keep it moving as much as possible. But yeah, am I fearful? Am I nervous? Am I apprehensive? But when you have the idea inside of you, it's nothing that can stop you from not putting it out. Now, once it get out there, then you just got to keep moving, because if it's put there for you, you don't want to stop. It's like, okay, you finished the first part. The first process is the idea. The second process is you want to write it out. Now the third process is, now you got to find the actors to hear how it sounds. Then you got to have the rehearsal. Then you find the theater, and you go through this whole process, and you just keep it moving, because the doors keep opening, because opportunity keeps coming. You're like, okay, this seems like maybe it's going to work. And then you get to the night of the opening, you say, you hope and pray that, you hear, are the tickets selling? Yeah, we just sold out. Great. And then you talk to people afterwards. How did you like it? And everybody, most people will tell you that they enjoyed it. If they didn't, they'll tell you that they did, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But for the most part, the people seem to really, and I've always gotten really rave reviews in terms, even with Man Shop, people will still ask me today, when do you want to bring Man Shop back? And I think too, people who are looking to support you, who love you, they're going to come. You're going to have them in the room, but there are going to be people who may, who also want to come to see what you're doing. So it even though it's a process that's moving on, you just have to keep the process going in terms of just having hope and just having faith that God is going to allow whatever happens happen, and believing that it will happen. And my thing is, the number one thing: have fun. Just enjoy the process, have fun. So when you get old and gray, you sit back and be like, oh yeah, I wrote plays. You have a story to tell, some other people that encourage them. But the most part is to enjoy and have fun, and let everything else, let the chips fall where they lay.
Sure. I believe that it does get easier as you press forward, because you can recall that 11:59 moment, I call them, where it's almost close to midnight, or it's a deadline, or you need to put an understudy in at the last minute. But having faith, your faith grows each time it's tested, I believe. And we will touch and agree in prayer and affirmations, but also the best part, Sonia, is the fact that we first and foremost understand that we share the same vision at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's not I have to do the marketing. So we laugh about it. I'm the rapper, she's the DJ, you know. So while she's writing, I'm exercising my license to find the correct venue, to negotiate the contract, those type of things, and then try to sell the product and get other sponsorship. We became art in residence because I asked for it, number one, and then we believed that it could happen. So we outperformed ourselves, and then we were asked back before we found another venue, hey, listen, we'd love to have you as a resident. And that was only God. And I say that, and I'm sure Freedom will agree, that once you hit that turn, to say that everything is possible with him, then you have to uh, put the dot, 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 because he's saying, I told you so each time.
Yeah, you are preaching to me today, and I'm sure to some folks in the audience too.
Thereafter.
Yeah. Because I think, yeah, we can all agree, right, that we know that there's this thing burning, or this fire in us that is telling us this is the direction. But and we all have our testimonies, right? That once we've done it, it's come to fruition in ways that we never would have imagined that it could be. But sometimes we always doubt a little bit when we go out for the next time, even though we have all this data, that tells us it's going to be fine, right? It's
Sure.
going to be good. It's going to be great. And so I'm sure there are people in the audience, as I, who needed to hear that. The other thing is you are more than a playwright. You have grown to, I mean, you stage your plays, you direct them. And I've never spoken to a director, I've never interviewed a director, but I always found in my head, to me, that's the most difficult process because it's really bringing out, you can read something and have a feeling about it, but it's another thing to emote it on stage. And so what has been that learning process of being a great director or growing into becoming a great director?
Yeah, it is difficult. It is a process. I will say that I do believe that I am growing into that. For me, when I write, I hear the characters in my head. So I already know how I want them to
Mhm.
sound. I know what I want them to move about. I see the vision also. So getting the actors on board with the same vision that I have in my head in terms of the sound, the movement, and things like that. And I've had to, like I said, even do some research on it in terms of directing. And I've asked some other people to come in that do have directing experience to help me with the process. So it can be difficult, but I've done it so much with my plays that it's getting easier. But there is a difference in terms of just sitting down and writing, but directing, because you want to make sure that what the vision that you have for that play and how you see it, how the movement, how the blocking is, you want to make sure that it fits very well onto the stage so that everybody knows where they're supposed to be. Everybody knows how they're supposed to sound so that your characters don't look just one dimensional, because your characters shouldn't be one dimensional. Your characters got to make sure they have some depth to them. So that's what you also have to pull out from from the actors.
You mentioned your characters having depth. How difficult is it to really keep your characters consistent? That giving them, creating these nuances or these, I don't even have the word for it, but that thing that makes them recognize, oh, that's something that this character would do, or this character feels familiar and is consistent, right, throughout the play. How difficult is that?
It's not too difficult once your actor understands who the character is. It's only
Okay.
difficult when your actor has an issue in terms of trying to find that character's persona. So if I can get the actor to understand the dimension of the character, once they understand that, then it's not difficult for them. So even when I'm writing, what I do is I do like a background kind of a write up in terms of what that actor is, because they will those are the kind of things we discuss before we even start the rehearsal. Who the character is, why is the character talking, why is the character entering into a room. Once they understand who the character is, and it's easier for them to bring out that character.
Tom, talk to us a little bit about, particularly for anyone who might be listening, who feels they have a play in them, who feels that they have this creative process that they want to be able to bring to life. The marketing is the business side. And so, what does that look like to really be able to get an idea to someone who can greenlight it for a stage?
First and foremost, I say you work from the end backwards. And what that means is you put yourself vicariously in the audience seat and say, how can this project? Then you have to know the play yourself. So that means that I have to listen intensely to the concept of my spouse, who happens to be the director and the playwright, show up also at least a third of the rehearsals, and then try and market each character of choice. And what I mean by that is you have your protagonist and you have your antagonist. So you, I believe you start with little snippets of letting them seep out a little bit of the dialogue. So I've started creating small reels of the play. But then beyond that, you want to find the theater house early on that is as intimate as possible. The worst thing that you could do is to have a small audience in a huge theater. You never want to start out like that. it's better to sell out than to sell down. And sell down means that now you have your actors looking into this huge theater and there's 10 people in front of them. Now they're not motivated. So your retention goes down. So if you choose a smaller theater, but do multiple days and then market what the apex of the play is about. Is it a drama? Is it a comedy? Is it a little of both? And what you'll find over time is then you can pull a nuance out of it. Take No Tea for a Fever. Uh, During our second, this is our reprise. I'm not even calling it an encore. It's more like a reprise at this point because my wife decided to, add some nuances. And I found a love story within the play, whereas we were marketing it as a comedic drama before. Now it has an asterisk that also has a love story between the lead character Isabel and her suitor, who happens to be Mr. Marshall. So it's giving me now, or giving us, a new audience to, meaning even if you saw it the first time, come back and see us again because there's a new twist.
Tell us what this title means. Take No Tea for a Fever.
Should I or you? Okay. Now, it's kind of Southern jargon. I'm a old parent, wise kid, meaning my parents were 42 and 50 when I was born. So I'm akin to a lot of Southern jargon. They're from Raleigh, North Carolina. And my parents, or at least my mother used to say, someone who has a temper, she would say, and she don't take no tea for a fever. Now, there may be a segment of Southerners that know it, and usually they are probably 1965 like me and further back if they've heard it from great grandmom or mom. I'll let my wife put her spin on it, though, please.
Pretty much. It take no tea for a fever is an old saying that back in the day that I would hear, like my grandmother was saying, that basically meant that she was a woman that just didn't take any mess from anybody. So when you heard that saying, you knew what that meant about that person.
And tell us a little bit about what anyone can expect when they go see your play.
So what they can expect with this particular play is drama. A lot of drama, but it also has comedy involved in it, and there's action, there's suspense, all rolled up in one. It's a lot of fun. Isabel, the main character, is a lot of fun, but she don't take no mess. There's also, you got Isabel. You have who is a grandmother who looks to take care of her grandson and brother. You have her love interest. He loves her. She loves him, but she's not going to let him know that she's not a vulnerable person at all. And then you have Mac Daddy, the neighborhood pimp. So you have all that going on, and Isabel is working her way to try to save her home, protect her grandson and her brother. And while she also is battling the neighborhood demon, which is Mac Daddy the pimp.
I have a couple of questions that I want to ask that I'm actually starting with you all that I think we'll be adding to the show going forward. But what was it that was in your background as a child or early on in your profession that geared you to where you are today? Something that was very clear about who you are that has shown up and has been either your superpower or what has really forged you forward today?
For me, I came from a household with a grandmother who was very confident and strong-willed, loved God. My mother was a hard worker who did not give up and was very encouraging. She always encouraged me to, don't give up, just try it. If it don't work out, that's okay. Try again. So I come from a background where we were taught to just be encouraged and just continue to try and don't give up.
Wow.
Yeah. As for me, I was blessed to come from a two-parent home and parents who actually were married for over 55 years. So I want to say that what I learned most was from my dad, that he was very transparent about his love and affection for my mother. And I was able to witness that. And I think that made me vulnerable at a lot of points in my early life. But then there was this second coming. She, meaning Freedom, actually was the one that got away. I think we dated at 20. I was more interested than she was. But we came full circle in our 40s, middle age, and have been together since. And it's like we're 20 years old again. I mean that. I believe. I'm the optimist.
Wow, that's wonderful. I didn't realize, and I remember when you married, but I didn't know that you had known each other 20 years prior
Sure.
to getting together. So those are always wonderful, wonderful stories. So for anybody who's interested in coming to see your play, May 8th to the 11th at the Arden Theater, how should they contact you or contact the theater to get tickets?
Both. And I got my cue card here. For the easiest way would be to contact the Arden Theater. The number is 215-922-1122. 215-922-1122. And that's the Arden Theater box office. You must state that you want to attend the show for the company in residency, which is Take No Tea for a Fever by Freedom Rites Productions. The second option would be to contact me directly. They can either text me at 267-973-8747 or email me direct at tcook96@gmail.com.
And can we follow you on are you on social media?
Yes. You can follow us on Freedom Productions. You can also follow me on Black Theater Matters, okay, as well as Urban Instagram. And and if they want to they can just do Thomas Cook, and
on
that
LinkedIn.
Will pull up as well. Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's where we follow each other. Absolutely.
Sure.
And so what's next for Freedom Productions?
Well, we actually have something pending that we're unable to discuss, but I will say that Freedom would love to turn a lot of she has 5 other plays that we haven't even had a chance to bring on the stage because we keep doing encores. So she would like to possibly develop those into screenplays and look to have films. That would be the biggest vision for us, to do film as well as theater. But I'll defer to her.
Well, yeah, I think that we're going to continue to do as many plays as we can, and I am looking to try my hand at film writing. So right now I'm working on at least one of the plays and trying to turn that one into a film. One of the things we would like to do too is also tour, go to some other cities, go to some other states, so that we can, share and other people can see what we're doing as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sure. Well, please keep us updated on all that you're doing. Would love to have you back as you transition into filmmaking to talk about what that process is like, and for us to be able to support you in getting the word out. We appreciate you being here. And looking forward to checking you all out May 8th to the 11th at the Arden Theater in Philadelphia.
Yes. And we thank you as well.
Yes, thank you so much.
All righty. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back again next week with another great guest. Take care.
The Business First podcast is hosted and produced by Sonia Alleyne. Executive producer Ken Johnson. Find the Business First podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Odyssey, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcast. On social media on IG at business_first_podcast. Follow the Mean Old Line Media Podcast Network on IG at Mean Old Line Media. Get the Mean Old Line Media app in the App Store or Google Play. The Business First Podcast is a Mean Old Line Media production.